listening to the Way Too Early College Football Show. And now, your host, Will Warner. How are we doing, everybody, this evening? How are we? I am Will Warner. I'm here with you talking everything college football related today, and I hope that you are ready for a good show as we are live and in color. Hello, everybody. As we go over my picks last week, we had an okay week. I'm doing 10% better than we were doing last week after I had some of those rough games with some of those small schools. A lot of those small schools are really hard to predict. So I'm just glad I'm here with you guys, able to talk about it and able to enlighten you about everything going on in the college football universe. Look, we went 32-19 over the weekend. 63% of our games were won. I've got some notes here for you. Look, I told you Nebraska was going to keep it close with Ohio State. That happened. I told you that Alabama was going to beat LSU. We'll get into that as they shut out the LSU Tigers 29-0. And I think Tua actually played the fourth quarter in this game, if I am not mistaken. So I think that streak of him not playing in the last 15 minutes of ball games or 12 minutes of ball games is over. Stanford lost to Washington. That was a pick that I got wrong. Purdue, I told you that they were on a roll, and they did roll over Iowa as they got that upset win. Oklahoma State fell to Baylor. That was a disappointment as the Cowboys lose in the last 7 seconds of that game, 35-31. They were up 28-31 and allowed the touchdown to happen. West Virginia, they escaped Texas on a 2-point conversion. Holgerson said, "Do you want to effing go for it?" on the sideline multiple times. They said yes. They went for it and got it. After some controversial calls, there was a unsportsmanlike conduct called for the horns down sign from a West Virginia wide receiver, David Sills. If you haven't heard the story about him, he is a fantastic story to look up, as he is the 17-year-old kid, or I think he was 15 at the time, that USC offered him a scholarship to play quarterback. And he screwed up his hand, and now he's one of the top receivers in the college game, period. I don't care who you are, he is great. As we approach more stuff to talk about, let's get into the headlines just real quick. I've got them pulled up. Look, Notre Dame's quarterback is out versus Florida State, so they're going to have to go with their backup. That could be big. Look, Florida State disappointed me this weekend. I thought they were going to be man enough to take down the opponent that they played, and they were not able to do such. And that's all right. I mean, not everybody can be surprising and actually show up to actually play the game they're supposed to play. I didn't know that was such a hard thing to ask, but whatever. Florida State, though, did disappoint me in that regard. But without your starting quarterback, is Notre Dame going to be the Notre Dame that we're used to seeing? Against this team, against Florida State, you might not see much of a difference. I mean, you just might not. And that's fine. That's fine. It's a rib injury. That's all I know. But they couldn't beat NC State, and that was the game that I was talking about, that I thought that they had a chance to win, but I guess not. So that's a disappointment. Let's see if Notre Dame can survive without their starting quarterback, Ian Book. Let's see, anything else to report? Hey, good news for Aztec fans. If you're a San Diego State fan, good news for you guys. You're getting a new stadium. The voters have approved the stadium to begin construction. Nothing really else to note. Wisconsin's nose tackle is out for the season. He's having surgery. The Utah Utes running back Moss is out for the season with an injury. Here's something that's kind of interesting, not very interesting, but the first Heisman Trophy award won by a wide receiver is going up for sale, as Notre Dame receiver Tim Brown is going to sell his Heisman Trophy at auction. It's on November 19th, and it closes December 8th. It's from the 1987 season. Sorry. Brown sold the trophy from 1987 last year to a private seller who's trying to sell it again. That's what's happening. And of course, Brown was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2009 and the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2015 after a 17-year career in which he played 16 for the Raiders in Los Angeles and Oakland. So a very interesting grab if you want to pay high dollar for a Heisman Trophy. There is one on sale, and it is Tim Brown's. So let's see. With a bunch of the jumbulation and stuff going on uh, in college football over the weekend, of course, LSU was number 3 heading into that matchup with Alabama. So as far as the rankings go, college football playoff wise, you have LSU dropping from 3 to 7. Everyone moving up a spot technically. You have Alabama at 1, Clemson at 2, Notre Dame at 3, Michigan at 4, and Georgia at 5. Oklahoma and LSU round out 6 and 7. As far as the actual AP rankings, you had LSU fall all the way down to non-existent land. I'm just kidding. They fell down to 9. They fell from, I think they were number 4, yes, to number 9. So they fell 5 spots. Of course, the biggest fall was Florida as they got routed by Missouri. That game was not even close, and I did pick Florida to lose that game. So I'm not all the time wrong. Apparently, I'm just 37% wrong. Washington jumped from the unranked regions of the netherworld to number 20 as they squeaked by Stanford. That was a good win for the Huskies. I did not pick them to win that game. Penn State falls 7 spots after Michigan just thumped them. Way to go, Penn State. That was was another upset pick that I had. Those 2:30 games I thought were just going to be upset city, and some of those games were really close and didn't pan out the way I had predicted, but a lot of them just didn't. Penn State just didn't show up. That's just basically what happened. As far as the biggest rise of any team over the weekend, Syracuse, man, they jumped up 9 spots. Yeah, 9 spots from 22 to 13. So the Syracuse Orangemen are 7-2, guys, and they are beating the crap out of the Louisville Cardinal right now, 54-14. And I mean, that game is over with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, not even close. Fresno State is playing Boise State tonight. That game, I will give you my pick for that as they are about to kick off actually right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pick it. Boise State will beat Fresno State tonight, and that is going to be your first upset pick of the weekend starting late Friday night. As we continue to look at these games, we'll continue to see a lot of movement happen these last couple weeks with the top 10 as conference championship games are starting to come around and kind of feel themselves out. As far as anything else college football related, really not much to talk about that happened over the weekend other than Alabama just completely destroying LSU. 29-0. LSU didn't score, people. They didn't even score. People were like, game of the week, game of the week. I mean, I don't even want to look at the box score. I haven't. I'm going to be honest. I haven't. What is the point? But it looks like as far as Tua playing the whole game, it happened. So as I said, that streak is done. If we look at the box score, there was nothing that was it 6-0 at the end of the first, 16-0 at halftime, 22-0 at the end of the third, and just one more touchdown just to really seal it off, 29-0. But no points. LSU had 196 yards of total offense. Alabama almost had 600. This was supposed to be the game of the week. Is anybody going to beat Alabama? Nobody is going to beat them. I'm just telling you, they're so good. Injury is the only thing that completely would just, ruin Alabama's chances of going undefeated and not even having a close game. I mean, LSU had fewer penalties. They had 12 rushing yards. LSU had 12 rushing yards. They were averaging under 6 yards per pass. And the other thing is they were terrible on third down, 5 of 16. But both teams turned the ball over. They both threw interceptions. No fumbles on either side. Alabama had about 10 more minutes of possession than LSU. But I mean, most of that's got to be just because the running yards were outstanding. Alabama almost had 300 yards of rushing offense. Their starting running back Harris had 107 by himself on 19 carries and a touchdown. So just a lot to say about Alabama and just how great they are. I love how everyone's just tooting their horn about Alabama. You have to. They are that good. They are that freaking good. And if you don't think so, that's that's your personal opinion. I have no words for you at all. It's just your personal opinion. So, no hard feelings at all. I just don't think that there's any other team in the country that can beat them. I don't care how good they're playing. Everyone's like, Clemson's it. Clemson's going to be the team. Clemson has a freshman quarterback as their starter, and he's been playing phenomenally well. But I think when it comes down to the pressure of a national championship game, can you really give it to the reins of a freshman quarterback? Nick Saban said yes to a freshman quarterback that hadn't played all season long and said in the second half of their game that they were losing last year in the national championship game against Georgia, go ahead and go in and lead us back. And he did all the way back for a win. And he's stayed their quarterback ever since. And that's Tua. I mean, that's just what we're looking at. So, I think you have those tendencies to think that freshman quarterbacks these days are just garbage. I mean, but the difference is this is Clemson and not Alabama. If it's Alabama, I don't really have an issue because apparently Nick Saban knows how to evaluate talent. And evaluating talent is what makes your recruiting class a good recruiting class. And, Texas has had tons of great recruiting classes, but no one's ever seen that talent actually translate from the high school field to the college field. That's the one thing you don't see. So to have someone like them, out there and just beating the crap out of everybody with with a quarterback that hadn't played more than a half of football until this season, and to do what he's done, which is not even miss a beat from the way he performed in that second half, is amazing. He threw a pick. I think it was his first pick. He threw one. Congratulations, LSU. At least you won something. You won the who's gonna stop Tua's streak of games without throwing a pick, and they did that. As far as I'm concerned, so that was really the biggest story of over the weekend that I can think of. I mean, there wasn't much that I didn't think was going to happen that happened. Um, OU, a close game with Texas Tech. Texas Tech's quarterback, the starting quarterback, plays the whole game. He had a collapsed lung last week and came into the game and got sandwiched in between two people around the second quarter ish. And from that point on, it was pretty much OU doing what they wanted, and Texas Tech's second string quarterback wanting to run it constantly. He just doesn't have that good of an arm as far as what I saw on Saturday, and just kept wanting to run the ball. Like, I'm going to take the snap, pretend I'm going to pass it, and then take off. Just quarterback draw, technically, but it was not designed. It was like designed to be a pass, but it's like couldn't get a pass off, so I'm just going to take off with my legs. But OU sniffed that out almost every time. It was like, oh, you want to run with it? Well, we got a quarterback spy set up, and boom, you're down for a 3-4 yard gain. Boom, down for a 2-3 yard gain. And now it's third down. You got to throw it, and he throws it over the receiver's head or short or incomplete almost every time. Until the end of that game, did it even get close? It was close, close, close. OU started pulling away. Texas Tech kind of came back towards the end. But to be honest, OU was really not in trouble. The score is a lot more misleading than the actual game. OU dominated that second half, and I don't care who you are, you need more of a cushion than what Alan Bowman, Texas Tech starting quarterback, gave them going into that second half with him not being able to play. Of course, he didn't know he wasn't going to be able to play. If he plays, I just don't think OU wins that game. OU has not played a good quarterback all season. All season. Don't even give me Texas, not a good quarterback. Not good. Will Grier will be the best quarterback they play all year. And that game is in, 2 or 3 weeks? So not really much to say about that. So let's hop into tomorrow's games. Since, that's what everybody's here for, my picks. That's what everybody wants to know. Who am I picking? Who is you picking? Who is you going to win? Well, to be brutally honest, I don't know because I haven't looked at some of these games. All right, so we're going to go over here and start picking these. I have it loading right now. Here it goes. For Fresno State, Boise State just kicked off. No score in the first. Clock hasn't even ran yet. Tuesday's game of Buffalo and Kent State. Buffalo won 48-14. That's your MAC Tuesday special. Wednesday, Miami of Ohio beat Ohio 30-28 in a nail biter. Northern Illinois beat Toledo 38-15. That happened on Wednesday. And of course, your Thursday night game was NC State losing to Wake Forest. Oh, you beat Florida State and you lose to Wake Forest. You might as well have just lost to Florida State, too. So NC State probably looking to not be ranked when they wake up Monday, as they were 14th yesterday. And they're not anymore, as Wake Forest is a bad team. I just don't know how you lose that game. All right. So let's start with the 11 a.m. kicks. The first one, I mentioned Will Greer, and I'm gonna do this because I I I, I really want to. And you're gonna know what I'm doing here in a minute. Um, Here we go. I I I have to. I have to. I have to. I have to. But as I'm getting this to load, all I have to say is this: is they're playing TCU, and TCU is crap. They're not very good this year. Defense is all right, but that's about it. Um, so I'm picking West Virginia to win this game, and I don't know if it's even gonna play for me. Growing like a breeze, country roads, take me to West Virginia. I had something queued up, but it's not gonna play for me. That's all right. That's okay. We don't have to have it play. But I am picking West Virginia to win that game. Ohio State, they're playing Michigan State. That game's at 11 a.m. Central Time. Number 10 versus number 18. I'm picking Ohio State to win this game purely because what I've seen in Michigan State, their offense is pretty inept. They don't have a quarterback. They've never had a quarterback in like the last couple of years. I mean, what Connor Cook was like the last decent one. Correct, incorrect. And then he went pro, right? Did he not? I don't know. It's Michigan State. I don't know. So I'm picking Ohio State to win that game. Navy is playing UCF. Pick UCF to win. Navy's been playing awful this year, and they kept that streak up last week. South Carolina playing Florida. I'm picking Florida to bounce back after losing to Missouri. But South Carolina put on a pretty good show last week. They did go out and they did beat Ole Miss, which I did not predict them to do, but they only won it by 48-44. So I'm not really gauging that much on, oh, great win. It's an all right win. Ole Miss is all right. This part of the SEC is all right, but nobody is going to beat Alabama. I don't care who you are. Another 11 a.m. Central Time. This one could be an upset. And I hate to pick this team because I knew going into the year that they were highly overrated. And I said that if you go back a couple episodes. Wisconsin is playing Penn State. Penn State still ranked after that crappy showing against Michigan. But Wisconsin, they oh man, they're so aggravating because they were so good. And then now they've just been bad. Another bad week for Wisconsin fans against Northwestern the other day after losing to Michigan and BYU. But they got Rutgers, and that's kind of a lucky break for them. But they got Penn State and then Purdue. Those are not easy wins, guys. Not anymore. Purdue's on a roll, guys. They've got confidence and a swagger I haven't seen in a Boilermaker since someone tried to make something for me for dinner. But I think Wisconsin could be Penn State's doom, as Michigan doesn't have a great offense, but it showed up against Penn State. So why not Wisconsin's offense? Why not them get going and have Jonathan Taylor just go bananas? Maybe Trace McSorley will play better, but I just think Wisconsin has this game, that game on ABC at 11 a.m. Central Time being played at Penn State, though. Can Wisconsin win at Penn State? Yes, they can, and I think they will. Akron, they are playing Eastern Michigan. I am picking Eastern Michigan to win. Eastern Michigan, they played Central Michigan last week and beat the snot out of them. So I'm picking Eastern Michigan, the lovely Eagles, to beat their opponent uh, in the Akron Zips. Tulsa, they're playing Memphis in Memphis. Tulsa getting their second win of the season against UConn last week. The Huskies not very good. Well, Memphis is better than them, and they're going to beat Tulsa. Memphis will beat Tulsa at their home stadium. SMU playing UConn. SMU coming off that huge win against Houston. So they're going to be ready to go play some Huskies. They're going to win that game. Uh, Kansas is playing Kansas State. As I said, it's Rivalry Saturday. This is going to be played at Bill Snyder Family Stadium, and it will be chilly in Kansas, really, really chilly, 41 degrees. But I'm picking the Kansas State Wildcats to beat the Kansas Jayhawks. BYU playing UMass. I'm picking the Cougars to beat the Minutemen. Lafayette's playing Army. I'm picking Army. Vanderbilt is playing Missouri. I'm picking Missouri. All of those games at 11 a.m. The Army game is on CBS Sports Network, and the Vanderbilt Missouri game is on the SEC Network. As I said, all those games at 11. The BYU game not televised. Ole Miss playing Texas A&M. Ole Miss coming off that loss to South Carolina. They're going to lose again to the Aggies of Texas A&M. That game, an 11 o'clock kick as well. Illinois playing Nebraska. Nebraska kept it close against Ohio State, like I said they would, and I think they're going to beat Illinois. So, hopefully I'm right. Taylor Martinez looked really good. And any time you are one of the worst teams in the Big Ten and you hang in there with Ohio State, I'm going to give you credit because Ohio State needs to be challenged. And if you play up to their level, at least 7 or 6 times out of 10, they're going to lose that battle. And they had a real close chance of losing it against the Cornhuskers, but it just didn't happen. So I think that the Illini are in trouble, as in Lincoln, Nebraska. It probably is going to be senior night, as far as I know. Haven't checked the schedule, but they're going to be playing the Illini, and I'm picking them to win and get their third win of the season and go 2-5 in the Big Ten. Maryland is at Indiana at 11 a.m. on the Big Ten Network as well. I'm picking Indiana to beat Maryland. Maryland coming off that pathetic showing last week. They got beat 27-3. It wasn't even close. And I think the new interim coach is probably the reason for it. So I'm picking the Hoosiers to beat the Terrapins. So at 11:20 on an ACC network, you have a great game if it were basketball, Duke and North Carolina, but this is football. But the thing is it might be just as entertaining. Duke losing last week to Miami, North Carolina losing again. They are just, ooh. But the thing about North Carolina is they don't really get blown out. If you look at their schedule, it's like they can put up points. 24-17 lost to Cal. 38-35 win against Pitt. And then look at all these losses. 22-19 against Virginia Tech, 3-point loss. 37-40 to Syracuse, 3-point loss. Virginia, 10-point loss. Georgia Tech, 10-point loss. They're not losing these games by 14 plus. The only game they've lost by 14 plus was against Eastern Carolina, 41-19. And I didn't pick Eastern Carolina to win that game. And you know what? I don't think anybody should have, but it happened. And I don't know how, but it did. And so here we are. North Carolina's 1-7. I did not see that happening for them. And they should at least have won 3 or 4 games. I just listed 4 or 5 that were under 10 points. 3 of them in a row were a 3-point, with a field goal difference. This is going to be a close game. If North Carolina doesn't win this game, I'm going to be disappointed. I think North Carolina's got this. I've said that for like 3 or 4 weeks. And what have they done? Just crap down their leg every time. So I don't know how much faith I have in them, but I think that regardless, it's an interesting theory to look at. Troy, they're playing Georgia Southern, and I'm picking Troy to win this game because they're undefeated in the Sun Belt Conference, and Georgia Southern's got a loss. That's the only thing. Excuse me. That's the only thing I'm basing this off of. This game is a 1-point spread, guys. This is a pick'em. The over-under is at 45, and Troy is favored by a point. And I don't know why. I'm not looking at the spreads while I'm picking these because Duke is a 10-point favorite, and I'm picking them to lose. So I'm obviously not looking at that. At 1:30 Central Time, you have Charlotte playing Marshall on ESPN Plus. If you're subscribed to that, I think Marshall's got this win in the bag. Charlotte is an okay team, but they're not great. They lost last week. as they usually do. I think they were playing somebody that was pretty good. No, they were playing Tennessee. That's why they lost. I was like, they were playing somebody that was like not in their conference, and it was Tennessee, and that's why they lost. But they only lost 14-3. So I don't know if that's really a huge loss, but Marshall's favored by 14. I think they cover that easily. Liberty is playing UVA, Virginia. They've been playing better, and they're favored in this game. I think that that's correct. They're favored by 23. I don't think that's correct, but I think they're going to win the game. Pick the Cavaliers over the Liberty Eagles. That game at 2 p.m. on the ACC network. Another 2 p.m. Central Time start for ESPN Plus members, Bowling Green and Central Michigan. I'm picking Bowling Green to win this game, but again, pick them. Central Michigan's favored by 7, but both of these teams are 1-9, 1-8, and have not won a game in their conference yet. So this is literally the bottom of the bucket for the MAC conference. And I mean, I like Bowling Green better. I just do. Central Michigan's favored, but I just like Bowling Green better. And I think the only reason that Central Michigan is favored is it's at Central Michigan. So I think they're just kind of accounting for both these teams are bad, but Central Michigan's home. Give them a touchdown favorite. So, I mean, Vegas obviously usually knows what they're doing. But I'm picking Bowling Green to win that game. Middle Tennessee is playing UTEP again, ESPN Plus, 2 p.m. If you want to flip between that and your Central Michigan game, I'm picking Middle Tennessee to beat the UTEP Miners as UTEP. They got their first win of the season versus Louisiana or versus Rice. Versus Rice. And I said it was going to happen. I said it was going to happen. So the streak of like 26 games without a win ends, and I think this is a good beginning, but I don't think Middle Tennessee loses this game. So I'm picking the Raiders of Middle Tennessee to beat the UTEP Miners in El Paso. 2:30 p.m. Central kick on CBS. You have number 16 Mississippi State playing Alabama. Do I even need to mention that Alabama's favored by 24? They should be. Alabama roll tide. They will blow the doors off of Mississippi State. Fitzpatrick or Fitzgerald. Yeah, Nick Fitzgerald, the Mississippi State quarterback, has been a disappointment all year. He's a good dual threat quarterback, and he's got some talent. He just hasn't been able to execute very well, and he makes those mistakes you just can't make. And I think that's why you're going to have Mississippi State lose this game heavily, is because he's going to be the reason that offense doesn't move. And if you shut out LSU, you can shut out Mississippi State. That's kind of my logic behind that. If Mississippi State does score, it'll be in an unorthodox way, special teams, pick six, something weird, a fumble return. You won't be seeing them win in a normal manner of just being able to score, not win, but score, just being able to drive the ball down the field. If they can, that's trouble for Alabama, and this could be a ball game. We'll see, but I just don't plan on that being the case at all. We thought last week was going to be a ball game. Not even close. 29-0 over LSU. So I think I'm going to pick Alabama to just keep rolling, man. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa, he's great. And I think there's no debating that he is one of the best quarterbacks in college football, period. Number 4, Michigan. They play Rutgers at 2:30 Central Time. I'm picking Michigan to win this game. Rutgers, it's Rutgers. We've discussed them the last 9 episodes. They're bad, really bad. Kansas put up 55 against them. Pick Michigan to win that game, please. I don't know if they're going to cover the 39-point spread, but pick them to win at least. All right, this game, big for me locally. OU playing Oklahoma State. It is what it is. OU's number 6 coming in, and they're favored by 3 touchdowns. They're home. Oklahoma State, I just don't know what team's going to show up. If you give me the team that plays Texas going into Norman, it might be a close game. OU might win by 10. If you give me the team that played Baylor last week, OU wins by 21 plus. That's as simple as I can put it. If OSU does not play decent defense, which they haven't all year except for against Texas, which that's not saying anything. Texas has no offense. What part of that do people not get? Like, oh, they're like, they only lost like 2 games all season to Maryland and West Virginia. They got lucky against OU because OU dug themselves a giant hole, and they almost dug themselves out of it. And then you have OSU throttle you in their place when they've been playing like doo-doo. So how the heck can you expect this game to not be as it usually is? I pick them, and I'm picking OU to win. But I just hope it's a close game. I hope it's good. I hope OSU shows up, because the last thing I need to hear about is another OU win in Bedlam by 30 plus. Just don't need that in my life. Okay, another 2:30 game. This one's on ESPN though. Washington State playing Colorado. I'm picking Washington State to beat my Buffaloes. I say my Buffaloes because I just love Colorado as a place so much. But Washington State, I think they're for real. I think Gardner Minshew is really the real deal, and I think Mike Leach has done an excellent job incorporating his high octane offense into that Washington State Cougar program. I mean, how long has he been there? At least long enough to finally get his own recruiting class, and look what he's done with it. They're 8-1. Like, they're 8-1. I don't know what to say other than congratulations to Mike Leach and what he's been able to do with those Washington State Cougars. Moving on to another 2:30 kick. This one's on the SEC Network. Tennessee playing Kentucky. Kentucky's favored by 4.5, but give me the Volunteers of Tennessee. I just don't have much faith in Kentucky right now, as they got throttled last week like I thought they would. It's Kentucky, guys. Quit thinking this is bad. I know basketball season is here, but quit thinking that we're associating the basketball team with the football team. I mean, you might as well be, because at least their basketball team got blown the doors off of by Duke the other, 2-3 days ago? Just, massively. So, I mean, who knows? Might be the same guys playing both sports. At least that's how it looked over this weekend if you're a Kentucky Wildcat fan. Well, this game is in Knoxville. That's why I'm picking Tennessee. I'm not picking them because I really think that they're 4 points better, or better than a 4-point, you know, give them to Kentucky. Because Kentucky's favorite just because of the way they've been playing all year. Their defense is legit. Mark Stoops has done a great job uh, with that team. But I think that right now it's just time for Tennessee to get another win and get to 500 and get to 5-5. And I think that the way they do it is by humbling Kentucky and knocking them down another peg. So pick the Volunteers to upset the Kentucky Wildcats. Northwestern's playing Iowa. Iowa coming off that loss to Purdue. Close one, by the way. Only a 2-point win for the Boilermakers. And Northwestern, they beat Wisconsin, and then they come out and they lose the next week. But they had a tough assignment. That's Notre Dame out there. It's not like it's another Big Ten opponent. All right, this isn't cakewalk cupcake city out here. So I picked them to show up a little better than they did. But other than that, I mean, it really kind of played out the way I sort of expected it to, as Northwestern got beat down by the Golden Domers of Notre Dame. But Iowa's different. Iowa just runs a different offense. They're very tight end heavy with the pass. They like to target those big boys in the open middle of the field. Get them in as many situations that they have with the ball in their hands. That's really been their bread and butter, is just getting the ball into those tight end hands and moving the ball down the field that way and balancing it out with a really staunch running game. But I mean, it could be close. I was only favored by 10.5. It's tough for me not to pick Northwestern, but I'm picking Iowa to win this game. 2:30 p.m. Central Time on FS1, another Big 12 matchup, Baylor and Iowa State. Watch out. These teams are not as far apart as you think. Baylor coming off a big win against Oklahoma State in Stillwater. I'm picking Baylor. Baylor beats Iowa State this weekend on FS1, 2:30 p.m. Central kick. I'm picking Charlie Brewer and the Baylor Bears to keep on rolling the way they were against Oklahoma State. Another 2:30 kick on ESPN3, if you have the ESPN app, is going to be North Texas and Old Dominion. I'm picking the North Texas Green people. Is that what they are, the Green people? No, there's the mean green. I'm picking them to beat Old Dominion, as Old Dominion still has that great win over Virginia Tech. But other than that, they've just kind of been fading away, as you can say, as they are 2-7 and 1-5 in conference. So the Monarchs not playing up to snuff. That's why I'm picking North Texas Mean Green to take care of business. Another 2:30 p.m. Central kick, New Mexico and Air Force. Virginia Tech and Pitt also playing. I'm picking uh, Pittsburgh to to lose to Virginia Tech. I just think Virginia Tech isn't due for a win. In the last game, I'm picking Air Force to beat New Mexico. So, again, kind of two upsets because Air Force is favored by 2 touchdowns almost, and Pittsburgh is favored by 4 points. So that's kind of more of a pick 'em. I just think Virginia Tech has a chance. Um, they're not as bad as people think they are, but they just have trouble executing and finishing games. I think that's really the biggest issue for the Hokies. But I think they get over that hump. Panthers are just not very good. Give me the Turkeys over the Panthers. Purdue, they're playing Minnesota. That game at 2:30. Um, I think I'm going to pick. Um, I think I'm going to pick Purdue to keep on winning. They're favored by 10.5. I think that's about right. Minnesota's not very great. This game on ESPN2 at 2:30. So I'm picking the Boilermakers to keep on chugging along in a big old train of theirs and roll over the Gophers. At 3 o'clock, you've got San Jose State playing Utah State. I'm picking Utah State to win this game. I made the mistake of not picking them to beat Hawaii last week, and Hawaii got throttled by like 40 points. So I'm picking the Aggies to win. Eastern Carolina and Tulane give me. Oh man, keep thinking about that score against North Carolina with East Carolina. I think somebody got hurt for them. So I think I'm going to pick Tulane to win this game. They're favored by 12. So I'm picking the Green Wave to beat the Eastern Carolina Pirates. That game, as I said, 3 o'clock on ESPN News. 3 p.m. Central Time on ESPN3. If you have the Watch ESPN app, Appalachian State, Texas State, give me the Mountaineers of Appalachian State in the discussion. 4 p.m. Central Time, Georgia State, Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Give me the Raging Cajuns over Georgia State. That game, 4 p.m. Central Time, ESPN Plus. UL Monroe over South Alabama. That's my pick for the 4 p.m. Central start. You can watch that game on ESPN Plus. Arkansas State, the Red Wolves, are going to be playing Coastal Carolina. Both of these teams are tied record-wise, but Arkansas State favored by almost a touchdown. This game being played in South Carolina, though, give me the Red Wolves regardless. Justice Hansen been playing very well recently. 4 p.m. Central Time, this game not televised at all, and you'll be thankful it isn't. Western Kentucky and Florida Atlantic. Picking Florida Atlantic to win this game because Western Kentucky is 1-8. Yeah, they're bad. But a game that actually does interest me on Pac-12 Network at 4:30 Central Time, Oregon playing Utah. This game will be really close. Just trust me. But I'm picking my Ducks to win again as they beat UCLA last week to get back on track. I think that helped Justin Herbert, and I think Dylan Mitchell will have a big game against Utah. That game is in Utah, but I think Oregon will be able to handle themselves very well. Here's a ranked matchup that everyone's kind of interested in on ESPN at 6 p.m. Auburn and Georgia. I'm picking Georgia. Auburn stinks. Auburn's not the number 6 team in the country that we thought they were like week 3 against what? LSU, right? And LSU was like 13th or something, and LSU just whooped them. And so I think that we're going to have a case where UGA just kind of beats down War Eagle, and Georgia will beat Auburn. That game, as I said, 6 p.m. on ESPN. On ESPN2, if you want to flip over to a game that might actually be closer, Miami's playing Georgia Tech. I like Georgia Tech. And they're favored by 3, and it scares me. But I'm picking them because they're home. Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets beat the Hurricanes. Write it down. Florida Atlantic, they're playing UTSA. Give me the Panthers of Florida Atlantic. Enough said about that game on ESPN Plus at 6 p.m. if you want to see that. Another game on ESPN Plus at 6, Rice and Louisiana Tech. Rice again losing to UTEP last week and giving the Miners their first win in like 26 games. Give me Louisiana Tech. They're going to win because apparently Rice is giving out wins. So just give the Bulldogs a win. They're favored by 24 anyways. So I shouldn't even have to discuss that, right? A 6 p.m. start on CBS Sports Network, Houston and Temple. Temple gave UCF a run for their money. Couldn't get it done. Both these teams are 4-1 in conference, though, and Houston's only favored by 5. I've seen Temple play, and when they played UCF, they looked all right. I like Houston, but when you lose to SMU the way you lost to SMU by like 30 points, it makes it a pick 'em. It makes this 5-point spread non-existent. So give me the Temple Owls to upset the Cougars. I don't know. That's one of those games I don't really feel confident at all. South Florida playing Cincinnati at 6 o'clock on ESPNU. Of course, that's Central Time as well. I'm picking Cincinnati to beat South Florida. They've only lost one game all year, and I think they could be the team that UCF should be the most scared of. I think last week we were talking about this being the game to decide which team I feel like has a better chance of beating UCF, because I think the way the schedule works out, I think after this game, Cincinnati plays UCF, and then after that, South Florida will get a crack at it after next week. So I think that we're looking at a situation where this is just to kind of tell who you want to pick in these next games. Because, yeah, like I said, Cincinnati plays UCF not this week, but next week. So hopefully this is a warm-up game for them, and they can beat South Florida handily and make me feel a little more confident about picking against UCF in their last game of the season. Let's move on. Florida State, Notre Dame. Like I said, Notre Dame without their starting quarterback. So it's going to be backup time for Notre Dame. And who's their backup? Well, we can just check right now because I ain't really entirely sure. Oh, geez. Darn. Is it Wimbush? Yeah, Brandon Wimbush. Wimbush has played all right. I mean, didn't he start the season for them? So I don't know how much of a drop-off we're going to have here for Notre Dame, but Florida State been playing a little better. So it could be kind of a iffy game for me, if you'd say. But I'm picking Notre Dame to win just purely off of the fact that Florida State's played so bad all season. But if you want to make sure and check, I mean, you could tune in to NBC at 6:30. Just saying. LSU playing Arkansas. Give me the Tigers over Woo Pig Sui. Texas and Texas Tech. Give me the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. That's on Fox at 6:30. Only if Alan Bowman plays. If it's Duffy back there behind center, give me Texas because they can't do anything with him back there. That's my only stipulation. Texas is only favored by 1.5, but that'll go skyrocketing if Bowman doesn't play. If Bowman plays, Texas Tech's winning this game. If Duffy plays, mark a W win for the Horns. I know I got to pick one, but it's just a weird stipulation. Somebody with a collapsed lung gets sandwiched against OU in an opportunistic game for the Red Raiders, but they could have won that game. It just depends on how healthy he is. If he gets hit again, is he going to just fold over like a lawn chair? That's my only thing. If he folds over like a lawn chair, that's the only thing I'm concerned about. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Texas Tech to win this game. But if he doesn't play, I don't feel confident about that pick at all. Just let that be noted. At 6:30, this game not on TV. UAB and Southern Miss. Give me UAB. They've only lost one game all season. Where has the discussion for UAB been for the college football playoff? They have probably as much of a chance as UCF does if they lose another game. Clemson playing Boston College. That's a 2 versus 17 matchup. Game day went to Boston College to go visit Eagle Land, and I don't see the point. Clemson is going to rock them. They're favored by 21 plus or almost. Might as well be. Picking Clemson to roll against the Eagles. Oregon State playing Stanford. Give me Stanford. That game not televised at 8 p.m. Central Time. This game on ESPN will be your last game on ESPN at 9:30 Central Time. Cal and USC. That game used to not mean anything, but now it does. But I'm picking USC to win this game. Really not much to say about that. UNLV and San Diego State. Give me the Aztecs as they got their new stadium. That'll be on ESPN2. That'll be the last game on that channel. So give me San Diego State over the UNLV Rebels. At 9:30 on ESPNU, the last game of the day, coming from Mountain West, as it normally does. Colorado State playing Nevada. Give me the Wolfpack. They're favored by 14, and that is where we will end it for today. So I don't really have a final thought other than rivalry weekend this weekend. Make sure you're watching. These games do matter. Some of these games will set up who you see in your conference championship week coming in 2 weeks, if not less. If you're in a smaller conference, it might be sooner. I'm Will Warner. Thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of this. I am absolutely stoked. And I hope to hear from you guys next week. So that's it for me. I'm out of here, and I'll see you guys later. Welcome in, everybody. You're listening to the Way Too Early College Football Show. And now, your host, Will Warner.